amazes me, for now more than 2 years, they've been taking parking space in everyone's heads that the big tech stock immune. They're immune from recessions, they're immune from high interest rates, they're immune from banks collapsing, but it's not true. They even got to the point where they said back in July of 2 years ago, if you remember, 2 years ago, we had 2 consecutive back-to-back quarters of GDP. That is a recession. Now, a recession for more than 100 years has been where you have 2 back-to-back quarters of GDP. In fact, not only has that been in place for 100 years, that metric, but even the NBER, the National Bureau of Economic Research, for 100 years also said 2 consecutive back-to-back negative quarters is a recession. When that occurred 2 years ago, the president and Jared Bernstein, his chief economic advisor, said, oh, we agree. Recessions are different this time. It doesn't matter because we're in a boom. So it doesn't count. The metric system doesn't work anymore. He's wrong. Now, the first problem with Jared Bernstein, who is president's top economic advisor, he has no degree in economics. He has a PhD in social welfare from Columbia, and a BA in music from the Manhattan School of Music. I can't make this stuff up. And he is president's top economic advisor. He wouldn't know a recession if he tripped over it. Mistakenly, what he told the president is that boom was not a boom. We weren't having a boom. We had stimulus. We had spending going wild. Remember, they were spending money. They printed and spent money on ski areas, on golf courses. Now remember, just blue states, electric ferry boats. They spent money on LGBTQ museums, hiking trails in Michelle Obama's name to immortalize her. All these stimulus plans, the American Rescue Plan, for example, they're providing $1,400 check every individual in a household. Oh, and by the way, if you got an unemployment check from the state, you got one from the federal government, an extra one. And Biden extended the amount of weeks. This was not a boom. This was stimulus. This was a handout. And worse, when they did all the auto and mortgage moratoriums and the moratorium on school loans, all of a sudden savings went from $650 billion to $2 trillion. But they didn't hold on to the savings. They spent and spent. And they were spending so much money, nobody could keep up with production, and inflation just banned it. No, he was wrong. We weren't experiencing a boom. We were experiencing stimulus. And stimulus creates inflation. And what we were really experiencing? Prices rising. We were experiencing a negative economic growth. Yep, it's called recession. So for the hard-working, everyday American on Main Street, they're now paying for this price for Biden's monetary policies, his debt, his deficits, the destruction of our energy independence, open borders. This is not a boom. This is a setup for a terrible, terrible recession that could even lead into a depression. So the next time you hear this boom, there was no boom. Let's set the record straight. Trump, when he left office, he left us a boom. He delivered Biden a GDP growth. Think about this, 4.1%. He left it with inflation of 1.4%. Biden comes into office, terrible hatred for president and jealousy and this rage that he has over it. He destroyed our oil pipelines. He destroyed our energy. All of a sudden, energy shot up, gasoline, oil prices, food prices, everything went nuts out of jealousy. After 50 years and 8 presidents, including Obama and Biden, they failed to keep their promise to make sure, hey, we'd be oil independent. Remember, OPEC, 1970, put an embargo against us. And for 50 years, 8 presidents promised that we'd be oil independent. Never happened again. It was Trump who did it, not Obama, not Biden. All this rage, all this jealousy, he just destroyed everything Trump did. And that's why we now are finding ourselves into this terrible, terrible inflation. And it's going to get worse. The worst is this. Because we have such inflation, prices are skyrocketing. People are cutting back. They're not going to spend. That means the companies that this whole market has been depending on for all these years, all the tech companies, all the big semiconductor companies and the cloud companies, those earnings at some point are going to start contracting. Because the more debt and the more deficits contracts your economy. And when you contract the economy, then the earnings of these high-powered tech companies that are going straight up for all these years will start contracting. And when they fall, they will fall big. And that's why it's important that you know how to sell short when that time comes. I know people hear the market's going down. Anybody that says the market's going to crash, my God, they get burnt at the stake. Okay, I get that. Nobody wants to hear the market's going down. All they want to hear is the market will never come down again. We're just going to keep going up, keep buying all the same stocks, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google. This is all people want to hear. But they're not immune earnings. They're like any other company. They have to have earnings, and those earnings will contract. And now remember, we've been going through this now for almost 12 to 15 years. It could happen at any moment. Just be prepared, and I'll help you do that. Not only do we teach you for the last 25 years how to buy stocks, but we teach how to sell short. That's your only protection. Bonds, or go buy Coca-Cola or Clorox, the defensive stock, that's a joke. They all go down. There's no place to hide. So you got to learn when the market goes down, you're on the right side of that trade. And we'll help you do that here at Phil's Gang. Check it out, philsgang.com. Just click the link in my bio.